It is party time. Welcome to another episode, Thursday night episode. We're going to get off the rails tonight. The Chad Prather Show in the Mothership Studio 22. The Puppet Master Mark Super, Chris Cruz, and Let's Love Brandon at the helm, driving us in the nether regions of all things insanity. I want to get right to it. One of my all-time favorite guests, a good friend of mine, best-selling author Jack Carr. That's right. He's got a brand new James Reese book. It's out now. It's called In the Blood. Welcome to the show, Jack Carr. Jack, how are you doing?
I am doing great. It's great to see you. I love that intro. Comedy, craziness, common sense, and that common sense is something that is severely lacking, really, at most levels of society. And interestingly enough, Karl von Clausewitz, who wrote On War, of course, said the most important attribute of a combat leader is common sense. So something George Marshall also believed, by the way. So I love that it's right there in the intro. Common sense. Let's do it.
I'll tell you, you have it in spades. Anybody that reads your books, and you're one of the authors that if you write it, I read it. And that goes not only from your books to your Instagram posts. We've talked about that numerous times. But I love this series of books, your original, the birthing book, so to speak, that's launched this empire, this James Reese, this main character empire. Was called The Terminal List. The Terminal List, I was hooked immediately when I started reading that a couple of years ago. Now about to be a series with Chris Pratt playing the title character. How is the program developing, and when is that coming out?
It is looking great, and it comes out July 1st. And don't tell anybody, because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say it or not, but it is tested off the charts with test audiences. So that is awesome. I love how you called it a birthing book. That was funny. Yeah. I've not heard that before. I don't know if I'll ever use it again, but
it's the one that gave birth. It is the seminal vesicle.
Yeah, I understand. My best to get that out of my head. But we started filming last March in 2021 and finished up August of 2021, and then it went into post-production, and I got to be involved with every aspect of the show because Chris and Antoine Fuqua, the director, wanted me involved from the beginning. So the good thing about that is that we got to keep it on track, which now I see how difficult that is to do. In Hollywood, there are so many opportunities for things to go off the rails. The bad part is, if people don't like it, I can't say, "Oh yeah, Hollywood just screwed that up." That's on me. So no excuses. But it is awesome. It stayed true to the dark, gritty, violent, primal nature of the novel, which is something that made it resonate with Simon & Schuster and with readers. So that was what was important. So even though there are changes, because you're telling a story visually, every change is rooted in that foundation. So I could not be more thrilled with how it turned out.
You know, now that they're doing shows that instead of doing one feature-length movie, they're able to break it down into a series. And so you've got, eight episodes or more, and you can kind of tell that story and really develop those characters. Are you happy with how they're staying on target with the book?
Oh, yeah. So, 8-part episodes, 8-part series drops all at once. And, there's changes because you have 8 hours and you can't just write whoever you want in, as many characters as you want and all that sort of a thing. You've really got to kind of whittle it down to characters that drive that story forward in a visual way. And we added a psychological thriller component to the revenge thriller that was already there. And so some characters are new. Some characters are maybe a conglomeration of 2 from the book, become kind of 1 for the series just to tell the story. So there are changes, but the surprises for people who have read the book are good ones. And same thing, if you see the show first and then go to the book, there'll be surprises going that way as too, but they'll be good ones. So I'm I can.
That's good stuff.
Now I'm so surprised that anything gets made in Hollywood, and 2, that anything good gets made in Hollywood, just because it is now I see how things are running over there, and so many opportunities to screw these things up.
Absolutely. And in my little bit of experience there, I've seen it firsthand. And I mean, to have an A-lister like Chris Pratt on board, obviously I'm a fan of Chris's. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a good human being. But to be able to use somebody like that, I've seen several series that either picked a character that I didn't think was going to, Tom Cruise playing Jack Reacher, I didn't think was a great idea, right? You had to kind of, if you were a fan of the Lee Child's books, you kind of had to separate yourself from the reality of that and just embrace this new thing they were trying to pitch. Even the new Reacher series, I was like, you don't know this actor. I mean, it was what it was. This is an A-lister on board, so that's exciting stuff. And I know you got to be proud of that.
Yeah, no, Chris is the person I wanted to portray James Reese from the beginning, before his rise to A-list prominence, when he was just fire on Parks and Rec, and then Navy SEAL in Zero Dark 30. So I saw that transition from the lovable, overweight Parks and Rec guy to this Navy SEAL operator. So I knew Chris Pratt's the guy. And then same thing with Antoine, the director. I was like, oh, this is the guy that's going to direct. I love Shooter, love Training Day, Tears of the Sun, Magnificent Seven, Equalizer. And Antoine is such a great guy. There could not be a better person. There's a lot of trust when you hand something like this over, because you sign away essentially all your rights and they can do whatever they want with it. So there's a lot of trust when you hand this thing over to them. But it was in the right hands from day one. So having these guys involved is at the helm is it's a dream come true, really. And now, interestingly enough, as I write out the outline for season 2, if we do it, we'll see how that plays out. But I'm writing the outline right now for the second novel, True Believer. And interestingly enough, there was a culminating event, a threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine in that book. So now that that's happened, I have to figure out, okay, what's going to be this big geopolitical, strategic kind of disaster that's looming as the book is speeding towards its conclusion, because it actually happened. Now I have to figure out, what am I going to put in there that drives this plot? So that's going to be an interesting challenge in the months ahead.
Well, I was thinking about that exact thing, because when you wrote True Believer, and now you look at the events that are happening in Ukraine, and you go, it's almost like Jack was being prophetic here in the things that he said. It's so, I look at this and I'm like, I'm trying to figure all of this stuff out. I was with our mutual friend Mike Ritland yesterday, and I was talking to Clint Emerson last week, and I love all you Navy SEAL guys. Just you get out and you go write a book, and they're good stuff too. So yours though, I mean, you've gotten really prophetic in this deal, and I look at it and I go, Jill was just in Ukraine. And U2 just put on a full concert there. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a lot of war-torn countries to me in terms of what's going on. So I'm confused. What's going on? Should we be scared? Should we be worried? Are we on the precipice of thermonuclear war? I mean, what are we looking at in the days ahead? You're the prophet. I'm asking you.
Well, we should be learning, and that's what we should always be doing, is learning from the past, looking at what has gone on really in the Ukraine situation from end of World War I, end of World War II, end of the Cold War, and really put ourselves in the enemy's shoes like I did for my last book, For the Devil's Hand. But doing that, understanding the enemy's position, then allows you to make moves that make a little more sense. We talked about that common sense in the beginning. Yeah. That has been lacking across our society for quite some time now. But it didn't have to be Nostradamus to figure out that this was going to happen. And back in 2019, when the True Believer came out, meaning I had to write it essentially a year before that, you could just look at what was going on in the world. I studied a book called The Accidental Guerrilla by Peter Zehan, where he studies geography and demographics across cultures and looks at the rise of countries to world powers based on demographics and geography. And you could look at the population decline of ethnic Russians in Russia. And what that told him, and what I wove into the novel, was that ethnic Russians are essentially 2 generations away from extinction. And the greatest number of ethnic Russians outside of Russia are in Ukraine. So if you want to field an army, you couldn't field an army at the current levels past 2022, meaning 2022 is about the last year that you could invade Ukraine if you wanted to have an army invade that was at your current levels. After that, population-wise, it starts to decline. So he was going, and it didn't take Nostradamus to figure that out.
Yeah. So if you look historically back at the leadership of Russia, going Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, all of the predecessors to Vladimir Putin have invaded this part of the world. Do you think that Putin kind of sees this as a fulfillment of his role as a leader of Mother Russia to go back in and do what his predecessors have done?
No, I think he needs ethnic Russians.
Yeah.
He thinks he's like that cornered animal that is going to fight or flight, which that leads us to then talk about, okay, nuclear weapons. One, do they have them? Can they use them? Yes. Then what does that lead you to? Okay, will they use them? Okay, that's the unknown. Tactical nuclear weapons, and tactical is, it's still insane. It's still crazy. So when we talk about strategic nuclear weapons, flying and decimating cities across the globe, tactical ones, you can use an artillery shell. There's a whole bunch of things that they have at their disposal. They have about 6,000 nuclear weapons. Us with NATO have about the same. We have less, obviously, if we take NATO out of the picture. But yeah, he needs that population, and then he needs to look at, hey, what were we doing? What was NATO doing to threaten Russia's border? So we just need to learn from our past mistakes and apply those lessons going forward as wisdom. So hey, we can keep the world out of a nuclear confrontation. Hey, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. And I heard you a great hit the other day, and I sent you a message. Great hit on Glenn Beck the other day. Thank you for helping Glenn. He's going to be a good radio guy one day. He's gonna get a platform. I really think God's got a plan for him.
Yeah, he might write a book, something like that. I'm really encouraging him to take that first step.
Yeah, get the words out, Glenn. Get the words out. But you were talking about the other day on the show, and so many really interesting concepts that were there. When you look at they say, well, this could last a few more months. I don't know how they predict that or are able to look at something like that. But you've had Biden who's even come out and said, well, somebody needs to remove this guy, and I'm paraphrasing. And then they talk about some potential health issues that Vladimir Putin has. And you and Glenn were talking about the idea of him going under the knife. That's scary. When you're thinking, hey, maybe somebody wants to assassinate this guy, or when he's coming out from under the anesthesia, he might spill some secrets. That in and of itself is kind of a thriller right there in terms of how that could play out.
Well, interesting that you should mention it, because I wove it into my third novel, Savage Son. So I talked about that. I talked about the Cold War days when these guys in the Politburo or senior military leaders in the Soviet Union would go in for some sort of surgery, and how they had to have people there waiting with the doctor because that doctor may be on the CIA payroll. And when you come out from under a surgery like that, there's a period of time where you're, for those who have been under the knife, you're maybe a little less than fully lucid, and it's a time when people can ask you some questions, and pass those questions on to a handler. So there were steps taken back in the Cold War days to prevent that from happening, and I'm sure the same thing is happening today. But Russia history, there's a history of coups there. Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen. It wouldn't be unusual, wouldn't shock me. But they made some serious missteps. Like the rest of the world, I think they believed that it was, hey, 3 days and we're gonna run all the way across Ukraine. It will be a part of Russia again, and that did not happen. Probably because they have an actor and comedian in the role of president right now. That's probably one of the main reasons. Yeah. But he galvanized the people. He galvanized the world against this Russian incursion. But there's a lot to look at there. And why did they not decapitate that government ahead of time? Yeah. They've that similar things in the past, taken out that leadership first to create a little disorder there before rolling in, essentially a triggering event. And they didn't do that this time for some reason. Maybe they underestimated their opponent, and that same thing, and overestimated their own military capabilities, which is not unusual in an authoritarian regime, because if you bring that leader bad news, things that he doesn't want to hear, off to the gulag, off with your head type of a thing. So you hear that in Russia, in China, in North Korea, any really authoritarian regime around the world. We saw it in Iraq. So I think a few factors came into play here. Now we have the situation that we do.
Yeah. This is why I say people need to read Jack Carr books, because it's not fiction, it's faction. You learn. And sometimes you're even predicting global events. I love that. I've read every book. You need to get all of them wherever books are sold. But the new one, In the Blood, is incredible. Are you finding, just last question, are you finding this character, is it getting easier or harder to write these stories?
I think it sounds strange to say easier, but I am more comfortable with his journey, I guess is the way to say it, because we're all on a journey. And this isn't just a character that I pick up and then drop into a new situation, and he's exactly the same in every book. And I think that's one of the reasons that he resonates, is because he's on a journey, and we're all on a journey. And hopefully we're all learning. Hopefully we're all adapting. Hopefully we're all evolving. Hopefully we're all taking those lessons of past successes and failures and applying them going forward as wisdom. Hopefully we're asking questions. And he's doing those same things. So the reader is essentially on a journey through a single novel and then over a series of novels as well. So I think he resonates with people because that's a commonality that we all have. We're all on this journey. We all have one ride on this earth, and we get to decide how we're gonna spend that time. And that's why I take it so seriously. Like you mentioned, Instagram post or a sentence in my novel, a chapter in my novel, guest on my podcast, whatever it might be, I take that time very seriously because someone has trusted me with it and they'll never get it back. So my full effort goes into all that I do.
I love it. I love it. Well, my friend, you are a master storyteller, and I don't want anybody to miss a single word you write. Official Jack Carr, and that's Carr with 2 R's, officialjackcarr.com is the one-stop shop for all things Jack Carr. Check it out. Jack, thanks for coming on the show, brother. I'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Take care out there.
Take care, brother. Hey, folks, the world is getting more and more dangerous, as we're talking about. It's happening every passing day. We're facing unprecedented threats in the form of inflation, food shortages, conflict abroad. There's no end in sight. I want to highly recommend that you stock up on long-term emergency food. Go to preparewithchad.com. Save $150 off of a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest, most trusted security food company. $150 off their 3-month emergency food kit's going to give you everything you need, 2,000 calories a day, all the meals plus snacks and drinks. Delicious food. It's not bunker food. Preparewithchad.com, $150 off. You're going to save it per kit. Order it for every family member. It's going to arrive quickly in unmarked, discreet boxes. 3-month emergency food kit, $150 off. Get one for every member of the family. Preparewithchad.com. Preparewithchad.com. We'll be right back. Oh, Jack's a good one. Love that dude. I saw him. I was down in Houston the other day, and I saw a little advertisement outside of a store there, a bookstore, and there was his ugly mug on there. Jack Carr coming in for a book signing and a talk. Listen, if you're not following Jack on Instagram, and I mean, when he talks about novels that have influenced him or movies that have influenced him, or things in history, like this day in history, dude, he writes like a big novel, a novella, if you will, on his Instagram posts, and it's very educational stuff, so you need to be following Jack Carr on there as well. Excited to see the new show, The Terminal List with Chris Pratt. Pretty excited about that. We will eventually get Chris Pratt on the show. Of course we will. Why not? I mean, he catches so much crap from the Hollywood crowd. We may never see him here. He don't want that smoke. There's a couple of things. Where do I want to go? You know what? Let's stay to where we were going to be. All right, because I want to go off the rails a little bit. It is a Thursday episode, but I don't want to get too fired up too fast. Joe Biden, he's not going to predict. Well, one, like we talked about yesterday, Beto O'Rourke on The View wasn't going to talk about abortion limits. Joe Biden's also not going to. He's not going to answer it about. About abortion limits. He keeps talking about the inflation thing. Well, he was asked by a reporter when he thinks that when prices are going to come down. Here's what he had to say. Play the clip.
Mr. President, a year ago, the administration was saying that inflation was transitory. That's obviously not the case now. How long do you think it will be until we see prices coming down?
I'm not going to predict that.
Of course you're not, Joe. Joe, you can't predict your next bowel movement. Of course he's not going to predict that. He has no clue because it's here to stay. That's part of the Build Back Better plan. That's what they want to do. Crash the economy. They want to systematically and fundamentally change the way the American economy works. They're globalists. They love the World Economic Forum. They love the philosophies and the predictions of Klaus Schwab. We know it now. It's full mode right here. I mean, it's revealed. We've seen it. You can't even hide it anymore. Of course, he doesn't want to. But during his inflation speech, Biden, of course, he's got to throw the blame game out there, and he says it's the top domestic priority. But here's his leading causes. Play the clip.
There are two leading causes of inflation we're seeing today. The first cause of inflation is a once-in-a-century pandemic. Not only did it shut down our global economy, it threw the supply chains and demand completely out of whack, especially in countries where more effective recovery responses weren't available. And this year we have a second cause, Mr. Putin's war in Ukraine. We saw in March that 60% of inflation that month was due to price increases at the pump.
If y'all have a baby and you're not calling it Mr. Putin, I'm going to get a cat and name it Mr. Putin. Yeah, Mr. Putin. It's got to play the blame game. And let me be real abundantly clear here. The pandemic, quote unquote, did not shut down the economy. Politicians shut down the economy. All right, let's be real here. Most of us went on business as usual, continued to function. And I love it when people come out and say, oh, you were irresponsible and you didn't want to wear masks and you told people not to wear masks. I never said that. I don't care if you wear a mask, but I went on with business as usual. And business as usual for me means that I don't walk around spitting on people. I wash my hands. I take baths. I use antibacterial stuff when it's necessary. And I don't just walk around coughing on people's faces, right? And ideally, I don't generally stay in somebody's little personal bubble of space. I don't do that. So that's what I mean when I say I went on with life as normal, as usual, and here we are. Don't come at me because, again, we played it for you earlier in the week. Bill Gates, he said it was like the flu. He said it. That's from Bill Gates. He said it's like the flu. But you guys had to continue worshiping your little cult leader, Anthony Fauci. You know, the University of Michigan just bestowed upon him a PhD doctorate or an honorary PhD doctorate, whatever it was. It's science, whatever. And everybody's clapping and just, oh, God, you know, they're just, oh, we love him so much. We just love him so much. So let's be clear on who shut down the economy. And whether it was under Trump or Biden or whichever governor was sitting in the state house in your state, politicians are who shut down the economy, okay? And that should piss you off. They didn't shut down the economy. You know, I was watching the basketball playoffs the other day. I was sitting there and it was kind of on in the background. And you look up in the crowd, and most people are mask-free. Any particular game you're watching, you know, unless you're watching Golden State at home in California. But most of them are mask-free. But you always see that few people up there wearing the mask. You never, ever saw that before the government told you to do it. We've always had the flu. We've always had other communicable diseases and viruses. We've always had those things. Whenever there was SARS, bird flu, swine flu, whatever it could have been, you never saw stuff like that. So let's face it, the government told you to do it, and you did it. I went from flying 200,000 miles a year across this country to zero because I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. If I was going to go somewhere, I was going to take the extra effort to drive my fat ass there, and I wasn't going to let these corporate tyrants or these bureaucratic tyrants or these medical tyrants to determine how I was going to live my life. Now, again, I wasn't out there trying to purposefully infect somebody. Believe it or not, I've had the flu in my 49 years on this planet. I've had the flu many, many times. I've had, strep throat. I've had all these different things that can make you very, very uncomfortable, make you sick. And never at any time did I just walk around trying to give it to somebody else. So it was no different when COVID hit. It was no different. And now, guess what? They're actually coming out and they're saying, you know, all those swabs they were giving everybody, they were bad for people. They were bad for you. It produces infections. It was unhealthy for you. And I want to say a big fat no shit, right? Like shoving a Q-tip up into your cerebral cortex is bad for you through your nasal cavity. Yeah, I kind of figured that wasn't really a great practice. But some of you guys lining up down the street to go in there to find out if you got a virus, you don't even know if you have any symptoms or not. You don't have anything. You don't know if you got it. You got to go find out. So, yeah, they shut it down. Now we're reaping the effects of it, and you have Joey Basement in the Oval Office or wherever he's at in his Delaware home telling you that he doesn't know when this inflation is going to come down. He doesn't know when this economy is going to rebound. He's going to use a pandemic, which I am at this point in time just calling it a scamdemic. A pandemic that was it real? Yeah, as real as the flu. You're going to blame that. And then you're going to blame Vladimir Putin? Never, in my lifetime, I can't remember anybody coming up with an excuse of saying, well, Our first world privilege here in America, our sense of nationalism and pride and our ability to be just great as a capitalistic free market economy where people can really just go out there and get it and hustle and make something of themselves because they have an equality of opportunity. Never at any time did you ever hear anybody say it, gotta blame Russia. It's Russia's fault. I've been to Russia, folks. Russia's basically a third world country. They spent every dime. They abused their people, kept their people in impoverished situations. You know why? Because they spent all their money to amass military might. All their money was spent on the military. So you go to Russia and you're like, my God. I mean, they got meat hanging out in the open air in these markets. It's these people, they're most of them in many places living in squalor. And we're going to sit there and say that the greatness of America is being brought down by the evil machinations and ambitions of Vladimir Putin. Why the hell are we dependent on Vladimir Putin for any damn thing? No. This is bad leadership, folks. Bottom line, this is bad leadership. We've allowed these things to go unchecked. And now here we got this guy who's no leader at all. Joe Biden doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Not one clue. And these guys are just rumbling through roughshod into the course of human history. And I promise you, history's not going to be kind to them. And it may be too late for us. I don't know. We may be so far over the precipice, kind of like Wile E. Coyote when he ran off the cliff, and he didn't even realize he was standing on nothing until suddenly the realization hits and whew, he's gone. We may be standing out there on thin air right now. It's a bad, bad situation. And you look around, you're on the airplane, and you're like, we're hitting a lot of turbulence, and I hope the pilot knows what he's doing up there in the cockpit, and the pilot's up there in the front of the galley taking a shit on the floor. That's America right now. Nobody's flying the freaking plane. And not only that, he's up to all sorts of nefarious bullshit that we can't even explain anymore. There's not one single thing this administration is doing right. And who's suffering? You got to drive hours to go try to find baby formula. You can't afford to put gas in your car to do it. Everybody's going to have an electric car. Sure they are. At least 1 out of 4 charging stations in California now ain't even working. They're broken down. Good luck, everybody. The Fed is realizing the dire straits our economy is in, and thanks to our loose monetary policy on the part of the federal government, you can thank them for that. You can't just spend trillions every year with no repercussions. Now, to play catch-up, the Fed has been raising rates and plans to 7 times this year alone. You're starting to see those ripple effects in the housing market as their buying power diminishes. Have you considered what could happen if the stock market in the stock market if our economy just totally stalls out? If you're in the market, you're already seeing it right now, present day, this moment. Don't wait till that happens, folks. Take some of your profits from the market right now, solidify them with gold from Birch Gold. Throughout history, gold has maintained its value better than any other investment in the world. Text my name, CHAD, I spell it Chad, to 989898. They're going to send you a free, zero-obligation info kit on holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account. Text CHAD, that's Chad, to 989898. Secure the gains you've made while you can. Join thousands of happy Birch Gold customers. 5-star reviews over and over again. A+ with Better Business Bureau. Birch Gold. Chad to 989898. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Let's get deep down into the things that really matter in the world. Are you transgender on a budget? I've got fantastic news for you. Target, that's right, Target, the place you love to shop. They're so woke and looking out for you. Target coming out with a new Pride Month collection for June. It's going to include things like breast binders and packing underwear. Sure, there was a time when the almost exclusively gay celebrants of Pride Month wouldn't be caught dead in a Target, but times they are a-changing. there's a war on and inflation is rising. So if you're a girl who wants to trade the biscuit for a simulation of a package, or if you want a bra that relegates you to a charter member of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee, then get yourself on down to aisle 4, where ethical decay and moral rot have caused the structure upon which we exist to cave in and create an avalanche of savings. Oh, I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. I don't know how you've lived this long without getting a t-shirt for your toddler that says trans rights are human rights. But you should probably kill yourself now for being a transphobe. That's right, they have shirts with all sorts of pronouns, lots of rainbow-themed clothes for kids, and my personal favorite, books for toddlers like Bye Bye Binary and the Pronoun Book. Oh, and by the way, while I'm thinking about it, on a completely unrelated note, no one is trying to indoctrinate your kids, you stupid conservatives. Quit calling us groomers just because we want to make sure your child embraces an alternative and aberrant sexual lifestyle from a very early age. How dare you? So, yeah, they're trying to indoctrinate our kids. I mean, I know you're not shocked. You could say that Target is just leaning into what the market wants, and you might even be right about that to some degree. And as far as the adult stuff goes, I kind of got to shrug my shoulders. I mean, we're at a day and age where true manhood and true womanhood are slowly being subsumed by weaker, dumber versions of those things, and the trans movement seems to be all over that notion, like white on rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm. Listen, if grown adults want to shop at Target for the things that make them feel more like the cosplay version of a person they want to be than the real-life person they are, then whatever, I guess. But the fact that they're going along with the grooming of our children in the process is another matter entirely, and that pisses me off. So let's face it, grooming children is the natural progression. We've been saying it forever, and that's what's happening. The trans movement, insofar as it exists as a movement at all, lives almost entirely on the largesse of the leftist movement, which definitely is real. And as we've said many, many times before on this program, the left doesn't give one little teeny tiny shit about any trans people. They do not. The left cares about power. Trans people are a useful tool in getting that power, at least for now, and you know it. And the left never stops short of anything. Listen, they don't stop short of anything if it means creating a more docile, easy-to-rule next generation. You see, it isn't just about sexualizing your kid. That's bad enough. In fact, it's horrific, and there are people who should be swinging on a rope for it. But what's even worse is the underlying reason your kids are being sexualized, and that is in the process they're being domesticated. Like the sheep the left want them to be, they're slowly being intellectually fattened up for the slaughter. But hey, why listen to all this doom and gloom when you could be shopping at Target for your new Pride Month outfits? Why let me rain on your LGBTQ++IA2S parade? Just wait till next year when Kmart starts selling slightly used, mildly dirty, transgender-themed flip-flops. That's right. That's what I call a blue light special, rainbow special. I don't know what the hell they're calling it these days. God bless them. Target. People say, you're always telling people not to shop places. I don't, whatever. Just know what you're funding, folks. Just know what you're funding. They do. They want to weaken a generation, and that's exactly what's going on. You know, I see Fox News. I pissed them off at Fox News a couple of years ago. So I used to be on Fox and Friends at least once a week, and they don't have me on anymore at all. Mostly probably because I'm irrelevant. But you know, I'm also on the Blaze, and they don't. You know, they're not going to cross the stream, so to speak. And I'm irrelevant. But I was on the curvy couch, sitting there next to Steve Ducey, and Ainsley Earhart was there, and Kilmeade was there, and they had me talk about one of the covers. I think it was Vanity Magazine and Vanity Fair, whatever it is, and they had the program, the show, and it said The Rise of the Beta Males. Those guys were all standing there. They had, the TV show was out at the time. I can't think of the name of it, but they all had their hands in each other's pockets. And I made the comment then that I said, and then they made a reference to Rachel Maddow, something she said on MSNBC, and I said, well, speaking of beta males, and they didn't like that because I kind of went after Rachel Maddow. Even I was on Fox, they didn't like, can't be mean. I'm like, well, they don't have a comedian on your show. So I've been calling this stuff out for a long, long time. They really are trying to feminize men. They want to weaken it. I've been saying, you know, I told Hot News Natalie back a long time ago, I said, you know, the Chinese, man, they love seeing us get weak so they can just come in here and climb our women and create a whole new tall Mongol horde of warriors. Who knows what's coming? I hate being right sometimes, but I'm right. But we got to protect these kids, folks. We really do. I am all for the plight of somebody going through something they don't understand and getting that person the mental and, medical help that they need to get through this time in their life. But when you pander to it on the mainstream and truly subvert the dominant paradigm, folks, after a while, it is a slap in the face. Now, again, people are going to come at me and they're going to say, well, you dress up like a cowboy. You put on your cowboy hat. Yeah, so what? Not hurting you. It's not hurting you. Because again, I'm the kind of guy when the shit goes down, you're probably going to be calling on people like me to come help you slaughter your cow, which you don't have. Oh, that's right. I do, though. I have the cows. So you're probably going to want to come to me for some meat. You're probably going to want to come to me for some grain, some vegetables, maybe some know-how on how to grow that tomato that you bought at Lowe's out in the garden section because you don't have a damn clue what a beefsteak is or a big boy. And so you got to, much less how to make it grow, keep the rabbits off of it. You probably, if you go out and buy some chickens, you might want to talk to me about how to kill the raccoons that are going to come to eat them. So, it's okay. I just be over here wearing my cowboy hat. Y'all be over there sexualizing children. And when shit goes down, I promise you, it's going to be strong, toxic men like me playing dress up that your ass is going to come running to when the time comes. In these politically charged times, conservatives like you and I need to vote with our dollars, as we talked about with Target just a moment ago. In other words, don't spend any money with them. Minutemen Coffee. I love these guys. Had a cup just a little while ago. It's the coffee for American patriots. That's right, just like you. Constitutionally based, family-owned company, steadfast in their beliefs that freedom-loving Americans deserve products from companies that share their beliefs. I don't think Minutemen Coffee is going to be offering binders for your children at any point in time, but they will offer you a copy of the Constitution with every order of your coffee. Minutemen Coffee believes in those constitutional rights. They put their money where their mouth is by sending you a copy of the Constitution in every order so you can actually give it away, keep it on your coffee table, and talk about it. Do this thing, Patriots. Get on board with me and shop with Minutemen Coffee. It's amazing, small batched, handcrafted coffee from family farms across the globe, roasted to perfection, delivered fresh to you. I've tasted a lot of coffee, but Minutemen is absolutely some of the best I've ever had. Smells good too. It's gonna fill your whole home up. You're gonna like that. Minutemen Coffee is gonna give you a full pound of coffee for less than most of these, box stores are gonna give you 12 ounces of coffee for. They got a special going on right now. You buy 3 bags of their Heritage Roast and old Trader Joe. I love that Trader Joe brand that they make or flavor that they make. Tastes like treachery, Chris. They're going to put that in your cart, and it's going to be free, as well as they're going to give you free shipping. MinutemenCoffee.com. You can also use promo code CHAD to get 15% off your order. And join the coffee revolution, folks. Wake up without going woke. MinutemenCoffee.com. We'll be right back. We're basically kicking the left's ass right now. They're kicking their own ass. I go back to the Jim Carrey movie. I'm kicking my own ass. That's what the left is doing at this point. So that's why they're going to keep calling you racist and misogynist and toxic and homophobes and transphobes. And you know what? If I'm going to call out this grooming bullshit that's going on, like the Tyra Banks thing that we talked about the other day, her new show with the drag kids, if you're going to call me a transphobe for calling out this level of horse manure, so be it. So be it. Because I promise you, I'm not worried about you. I'm not worried about your protest. I'm not worried about your cancel culture. None of those kind of things. Listen, it's about protecting kids. And so when the president comes out and talks about, the ultra extremists in our country right now, nobody's worse than this MAGA crowd. And when Lori Lightfoot comes out and says, oh, it's a call to arms. Really? Really, I don't think you want this smoke. Saw somebody on Twitter that said, we roll millions deep. Bitch, who you think we rolling with? I mean, seriously, what in the hell do you think? And I don't want to play the clip because I don't want to listen to Jen Psaki for a minute, but, she threw Biden under the bus, basically was saying that he himself came up with the phrase ultra MAGA. Joe Biden can't come up with a constitutionally sound bowel movement, much less ultra MAGA. No. This is an agenda, folks. It's an agenda rolling a million deep. Okay. All right. Well, trust me when I tell you, I ain't scared. When I wake up in the morning and pour myself a cup of Minutemen coffee, not worried about you. Not worried about you. Because listen, if you wusses, you're going to get on Twitter. You don't use your real name. You don't use your real image. And what's cute about it all is you think we don't know where you are or who you are. Folks, I can have your social security number like that if I want it. We can find you. And again, we have. When I get threats from people who think they're anonymous, we're just sitting back and laughing. My guys, we know. I was talking to Mike Ritlin yesterday, day before yesterday, former Navy SEAL. He was like, I need to use your guys because when the threats come in, we just like to know you. So you guys that are being your little, think you're being slick, we're really not worried. And we do know you're in your mom's basement. Real quick, we got time for a TikTok? Let her rip.
You know you're a millennial when you question whether or not it's ethical to bring children into this world. Because of climate change. We don't really know whether or not the world's going to be habitable in 30 years. So why would I bring children into this world?
So I've had 2 abortions. Nothing medical. I just find it incredibly morally unethical to bring another human being, another child, into this late-stage capitalistic shit show that is causing the literal extinction of our species in our lifetime. This child that you want born so badly isn't going to live to see 30, and I need you to hear that. I need you to understand it. But enough about climate change.
While the rest of us sit back and watch the planet slowly die. And I know we all feel helpless, but there's one thing worth a try. Don't have a baby. Don't bring a new life in the world. I know they're cute with their little hands and the way their fingers curl, but don't have a baby. Resist that primal urge to breed, cause give it 10 or so more years and they won't be able to breathe.
That's a real toe tapper right there. I like these people complaining about this first world capitalistic shit show as she's drinking her designer coffee in the video. And then the next chick has her little synthesizer piano plugged in to an electric socket that is actually energizing your home. Oh, wow. These people are unhinged and hypocritical. I want you to have all the babies. I want you conservatives to get together, throw those condoms in the trash, and I want you to smash. I want you to nail it. I want you to hammer down. I want you to scream my name when you do it, too. I want baby, baby, baby. As soon as you have a baby, I want that vagina to heal up for about 3 months, and I want you to be popping another one in there again. Put them in the oven, people. Let's have a grassroots organic growth from the bottom up movement to take the world over with true conservative thought. People who have traditional values where men can be men and women can be loved by them, folks. That's my idea. Have them babies, people. We'll be right back. Two shows, Off the Hook Comedy Club, May 25th. That's where I'm going to be with my buddy Bobby Sausalito, Naples, Florida. WatchChad.com has the information. Then we're going to be in Belton, Texas, Bernie, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Shawnee, Oklahoma. On and on and on it goes. We're going to be in all sorts of great places. Fort Smith, Arkansas, Goliad, Texas. We're crisscrossing Texas, baby, and some of the surrounding states as well. WatchChad.com has all the information because that's where all the fun stuff is. Don't forget to go subscribe. This weekend, we're going to have a brand new overtime up. Do not miss those. I will change your life. BlazeTV.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad and save on an annual subscription. Have a great weekend. Don't miss a single word. And if you're not on overtime, we'll see you Monday. Love you. God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye.